one short fix. Changing the FAC policy is one of the solutions, but that has the most immediate effect because that affects the demand and supply equilibrium. And that also removes a very perverse incentive. The way FAC is now, we would honestly always get back to this cycle because there's a perverse incentive for every time the government is inundated with its own bills to actually devalue the Naira because it controls the dollars. So it can use more dollars to pay its Naira debt, which impoverishes Nigerians. We are the one paying for the government's profligacy, like all their wasteful spending. That's why there's no discipline in the government itself, because it has Naira dollars. It can always just depreciate the Naira to pay Naira T-bills, which it can offer to the public at 30% interest, which is what they're doing now. Like they raise the interest rate, say, oh, please stop attacking the Naira. We'll give you something else to buy. But how else are we going to pay back those T-bills if it's not from our own productivity? So at the point I'm saying is your Naira has to be backed by value. And the value has to come either from what you have in like gold reserves and things like that, but mostly from your productivity of your economy. That's why I said the goal has to be full employment to make sure that we're maximally productive. And that productivity has to be targeted and has a strategy that you strategically substitute the things you import for. So there's a whole, so let me just run through the list, which I had here, which then we can go into details with specific. All right. So firstly, change FAC allocation so that you to get to real price discovery in terms of demand and supply for Naira and dollars. Secondly, you have
to give the states the USD.
You won't give them the cash, but yes, give them their US. It's their money. You don't make them buy their own money at lesser value, which is what happens if I would explain that. You give them Naira that you determined what the price is by voodoo. They pay some salaries with that. But most of their projects need imports. So they pay other contractors with Naira. Those contractors now have to source for the dollars to buy some of the materials they need or equipment. And they buy that same dollar, which is a dollar that was just given out in Naira, at lesser value because they now go to the market. So CBN exchanges it, say, okay, it's 90 to 1. You get 90,000 Naira for $100. You now give it to a contractor who now has to buy that same $100 back, but he's buying it at the market at 1,500 to 1. So the value of that same dollar, he's buying maybe like 40% of it. So it's just, and he's now created excess demand for dollar, which is what I call a phantom demand. It's not real demand because you're just buying the same thing you already had. And that already has a deleterious, negative effect on the value of the Naira. But let me go through the whole list because this one needs to be unpacked.
So give the states and local governments USD directly. Don't give them Naira.
Yes, in their accounts because they can't spend USD obviously in the local economy. So they are forced to change that dollar to Nairas to pay salaries and most of their expenses. And that creates demand for the Naira. So the Naira begins to appreciate.
So Naira looking for dollar looking for Naira.
Exactly. And the dollar is looking, the dollar is produced from the same CBN account of the state, who is now goes to the BDCs are now holding Naira, right? So the way the BDCs get Naira is from that dollar that they're selling on behalf of the states because it's a real demand. So you have real price discovery. So we can all start from that baseline and say this is the real value of the Naira. But also we have FX in the ground in terms of gold and our mineral resources. We don't expose that. We have two things to our advantage. We have FX in the ground, like I said, and we have mass population of able-bodied men. We should develop a gold rush in Nigeria where all the men you see on the street corners looking idle and unemployed should have a way to take their destiny in their own hands and go and seek for gold.
So now this gold, you're saying that the federal government should open mining.
Yes, you open specific mining sites out. Obviously, you'd have the one where businessmen are developing, but you have specific mining sites where anybody can just pick up a team, get some training in artisanal mining, and go source for gold. Now, that gold...
There'll be a stampede.
There should be. That's what you want. First of all, it creates an economy in itself. You think about it, that's how the U.S. itself developed. There was a gold rush in California and places like that, which develops an economy. There's a local market, people selling stuff. But when you discover gold, there's excitement. And even if it's just a distraction value, it ebbs insecurity. You know, think about what that would have a knock-off effect for insecurity. But it is real money because when people will find gold, because there is gold, and they will become rich from their own muscle. But they sell all that gold to a government agency. So the government has a chance to now sell it on the international. They're doing some of that now. The difference is they're still limiting it to what people are doing on their own. There should be an organized way to do this, where it's in scale, so that everybody in Nigeria, in fact, you're talking in Lagos or Zamfara,
wherever you find,
let's head to Oshun, Zamfara, because my brother just discovered there should be a psychological effect where there is energy in the economy in the country, because people are going to seek their fortunes. Right. And that gold, we now back up the Naira as gold reserves in the CBN, a big chunk of it, because the gold is there. It's just not being monetized in a way that
lithium and all those other
lithium, titanium, all the other things that are suitable to artisanal mining. Because and then you get like big training sessions for people to do this artisanal mining in the most productive way. And it's not hard. You basically have the same barbed wired fence. If you see the U.S. government, some areas of the border, they use this barbed wire fence. You can fence off, it won't cost you that much to fence off a huge mining area, to channel the miners into that area. When they're coming out, each of them will have an NIN card. Think about it, they'll pay taxes.
So it'll be a zoned
exactly, they'll pay taxes. There'll be soldiers, everything around there. It's organized, right? And it serves our purpose. It's just even announcements of things like the FAC allocation and this opening up mining to the whole country in selected sites creates a knock-on effect, even psychological, to the Naira. People now know what's coming. Thirdly, you invest heavily in things that engage mass production, mass employment, security and education, right? It doesn't matter even if you borrow money to fund this. That is very productive, because all those people who are engaged will go on and buy goods at that level. So you want to triple the pay of our security agencies, policemen, and all of that, and triple or even quadruple their numbers, so that if the country is secure, it has such a knock-on effect. I don't know why.
But the president said it some time ago, and people laughed at him.
No, he wasn't. No, it's just the way he said it, because he said. People got distracted with what does it take? Agbado. Of course, he was correct on that.
He was correct.
Absolutely.
I knew he was correct.
Because fundamentally, you need
he was correct.
He was
correct. Maybe I can just put it out for people to just refresh our memories.
Well, let me go through the whole list, because this all ties in together. Right.
So, but you're saying he was right.
He was absolutely right on that. You need security as a fundamental, and we have people to. But he was even thinking 150 and just the army.
How many are you thinking?
As you see, the thing is, it goes from local police to state to federal. It depends on what the need is. So basically, and when you triple the pay, you should actually have, this is why I said the goal is full employment. You should actually have all able-bodied men, graduates first, because I have this emphasis on hiring graduates, because you want to improve the quality of our security agencies. And all these graduates who are idle, maybe a lot having to do Yahoo, or if you go to all our gutters, you see them with all these drinks. Obviously, you can see psychologically our youth are being damaged. They have no outlet. So you think about it, let there be a mining boom, great employment opportunities with security, because you're just going to hire a whole lot of people, train them.
Where are the jobs going to come from?
Security is a job.
Who's going to pay them?
The government.
From which money?
Even if it borrows, that's what I'm saying. You have to understand economics.
Borrow to pay.
Yes, that is productive, because whatever you're paying them, they're still going to buy goods. The reason why you have a lot of these foreign companies leaving who create consumer goods, because there's no one to buy. They've killed demand. So once people are gainfully employed, it doesn't matter that, first of all, the money will come, because it's a virtuous cycle.
How are they going to get the money to pay back the loan?
Like, you have money you can always get from, either it's from borrowing. You think about it. The problem is how they're spending the money. They're borrowing money now for infrastructure. Right? It will spend 13 billion on Lagos Calabar Road that probably doesn't have a gestation period of God knows how many years. Firstly, no development occurs with infrastructure. It's people that develop. It's your people you want to develop. You want them to all be gainfully employed and productive. And the foundations for that are, you need to sort out security for starters, because obviously then it has a knock-on effect, and you sort out power. So once you do security and education is also important, because you're improving the skill sets of the people, which increases the value of their productivity. And so all these things pay for themselves. You have to understand. Don't just keep saying, where will the money? The money is, even if you have to print it, Forget even
Is
borrowing.
that not where we are? Where we are today?
No. They're printing it for the more frivolous things. If you print it, because that's how you do in the U.S. They print money to match their productivity. So if you're doing print productive, being a policeman, it is productive. It's not frivolous at all, because that also has a knock-on effect, because you then have demand, empowered demand to buy things, which then encourages people to produce things and hire more people.
Okay.
But let me continue through that.
Yeah.
And then you now focus on, like I said, import substitution things, particular things like rail and power. Rail is another big opportunity to massively employ people. We should actually engage the army, train them, and actually recruit the way the Chinese did it before it now becomes. I don't support this idea, which you can, of just outsourcing it to.
Okay, building the rail tracks.
Yes.
Okay.
And the 3 rail tracks that are key are the east to west rail lines from Lagos to Calabar, Ilorin to Yola, and Sokoto to Maiduguri. And we can do that. Obviously, you'd have an expert company, either even the Chinese, to supervise technically and the quality control of that.
Yeah, but some of the terms that they give, to probably give loans for these rail projects, says that you must employ their people. So you have hundreds of thousands of Chinese.
Yes, their people only need to
construction
be
sites.
employed on the technical level. You can't employ them for just physical labor. Even that wouldn't work. And that is even can be solved. If the Chinese won't do it, I'm sure they will. But if they won't, there are tons of other people who you pay them for their technical. In fact, you do construction that way all the time.
Yeah.
You'd hire a Julius Berger. It would hire its German experts, but the actual labor is done by trained Nigerians. And that's what you want to do. You want to physically have Nigerians lay those rails, and we have the numbers. A lot of our people up to our villages, go to there, you see the youths, they're just in corners drinking. You can engage these people to feel their own self-worth is developed, and they add to the economy. Right. So you do that with rail. And then with power, you also need to change the dynamic in the power equation, right? Because now you use rail to develop your iron and steel industry. Like that would be based off developing Ajaokuta and like the Shagamu steel complex. So you think about just in that in itself, you're already industrializing the country.
But can government employ everyone? Because
if you do these things, you will.
The capitalist will say, and the free market will say, government has no business in business.
That's not business. Government is a catalyst for business.
Yeah, but government should be creating enabling environment and not getting involved in employment.
No. First of all, in any country, the government is one of the biggest employers anywhere in the world. So that's some kind of fallacy. I don't know what you mean by that. But the thing is, what is the government employing? Not in business. It's in developing infrastructure for business to leverage. And I'm talking about rail, right? For instance, any other country, America, China, all of that was built by government. So I don't see, there's no argument in this case.
About security.
Security is also the government.
What about employing them in income-generating activities like manufacturing, agriculture?
No, that's for the private sector.
Agriculture?
Agriculture is even private sector as well. Right. But the agriculture and all that, they need the rails. That's what incentivizes them to produce at the lowest cost, both for export and for the local market. So, like I keep saying, you have to start from a framework that the goal is full employment. There's no magic to it. These things are not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. It's the goal, even in the US, everywhere. The government is full employment is one of the goals of the Federal Reserve. Okay, so you go on with rail and things like power, right? So you've done rail and security. You now go to power. With power, I think what you want to do is you want to liberalize the power sector completely. You let power companies charge whatever they can, particularly to businesses, but on the condition that within set hours of the day, they provide power to residences and street lights.
But that's what's happening right now, and Nigerians are groaning.
No. Listen to how I say. You have to tie it to a specific target objective. What you do is if you liberalize them to charge whatever they want, they will concentrate on businesses, right? Businesses who are productive. So your employment will grow. They would grow and they will hire more people. But your people also get power for what they need. Let me explain. So within the hours of like maybe 7 p.m. and 10 p.m., first of all, the factories are really short. So you shift the power distribution to residences so people can iron their clothes, recharge their phones, get ready for work the next day. And this will create a market also for rechargeable devices like rechargeable fans. So people who are entrepreneurs will go into that market. So you have power either between 7 and 10 you cool your AC or cool your fan, and then like 5 and 7 in the morning to get the kids ready for school.
How will that affect the exchange rate?
When your productivity increases because of you've had most of the industry, of course.